First half, the field was tilted in favor of Forest Hill Central, trying to keep that trend unchanged in the second half. Here's Moeller. Lipke, and it's three!
Ranger goal. His third of the night, number 11.
Caps off!
Lipke.
It's a hat trick for Eli Lipke.
Now feed in a good spot. Lilla, a hezzy, and a goal! The cross, the sauce, and the finish for Logan Lilla.
Ritchie tries to feed it up the middle, but it's Berlichenko. Flips it to Henry Lopez. Henry to Easton. Easton centers it, and they score! Kirby Eggers! He's done it again! A lot of his former high school teammates here to watch him play this game at DU. Easton Lopez. Slow roll to Power. Lofts one towards the goal! And he gets in! Andrew Dykstra, dominant in this home opener. Quintero. Towards the middle of the box, and then a header is saved by Bo Hudd. Was able to find his man in Jules Pace alone, but couldn't get enough of an angle on that header. It's launched back towards midfield to Berlichenko. Plays it to Real Vasquez. Now off of his foot to Kirby Eggers, who was the hero of the match last time they played Parkside. Josh Cook. Onto the foot of Cam Power. Inside the 30, sends it. Berlichenko wide of the 18. Tries to center it. Now Easton Lopez, a second chance. That won't go, and then Eggers! The Rangers' worst nightmare strikes again. With 27 to go, Kirby Eggers puts the Panthers in the driver's seat. And when all is said and done, there's no denying what the sophomore has been able to do for this team this year. A couple of game-winning goals. And now he helps Davenport break through with 27 minutes to play, and he puts the Panthers on top 1-0. As we've said before, it's been a lot of the local products for this Davenport team who've been carrying some of the weight this year. Eggers out of Holland, Michigan, played at Holland Christian. This one skirts its way out of bounds, about 30 yards out from goal in the DU zone, and a throw in for the Panthers with 26:33 to play. But between him and Easton Lopez, Mona Shore's product, Henry Lopez has been doing a great job along that midfield, went to Godwin Heights. And a lot of the other players on this DU side, it's been the local kids who've been doing a lot of the big work for DU this season. Foul, and now a set piece. Parkside about 30-plus yards out. Chance for the Rangers to strike back. Quintero plays it near post. Handled that time by the Davenport defense as it's floated back out. About 50 yards out. Now they play it. Berlichenko to Easton Lopez. Finds Kirby Eggers. He will touch it back to Lopez. Wide of the 18. Chance to center. Lopez Back to Burlachenko. And a foul is called. Lopez got ripped down by Luis Flores. Wide of the 18, about 15 yards out from goal, and another dynamite set piece for the Panthers with 25 to play. It was Eggers with the first one with 27 to go. And now Josh Cook getting instructions from Chris Hughes. Mind you, last time Davenport was able to win the GLIAC Conference Tournament, they finished around the middle of the pack. Josh Cook. Cook's one. Far post. Can't get the header on. Ball still free. And they're arguing for a handball. It was off the hand of Brian Torres, off the deflection. The header. Nothing is called, and that is a huge break for Parkside. Probably would have delivered them a penalty kick for DU. Instead, it's misplayed by Mateo Quintero. Out of bounds for Burlachenko to throw it in about 30 yards out. Tosses it in. Cam Power floats it back towards Burlachenko. Ooh, over his head. Almost a masterful touch to Easton Lopez, but it's cut short. Mateo Quintero there, finds pace alone, who heads it up along further, but Brian Torres is shut off nicely by Cam Power towards midfield, charging his way through. Ball loose atop the 18 and headed back into the hands of Brian Torres. We'll get ready to boot this one away. Davenport on top, 23:30 to go. Staring down a trip to the second round of the GLIAC tournament if they can hold on for this next 20-plus minutes. Chris Estrada with the ball floating above his head just outside the 18. Davenport sends it away. It's settled down about 50 yards out from goal. Quintero looking for options. So plays it back near side for Brian Torres. Floats one in towards net, and Chris Estrada ends up getting bumped, hits the ground. Bo Hudd collects it, and the referee decides that was probably a dive. And oftentimes they tell soccer players in those situations, if you're that close and in a position like that, may as well take a dive to see if you can get an opportunity. Didn't work out that time. Now DU with an open chance. Centered. Easton Lopez to his left. Sometimes they tell soccer players in those situations, if you're the referee decides that was probably a dive. And oftentimes they tell soccer players in those situations, if you're that close and in a position like that, may as well take a dive to see if you can get an opportunity. Didn't work out that time. Now DU with an open chance. Centered. Easton Lopez to his left. Eggers! The one-timer off the feed from Easton Lopez. Kirby makes it 2-0 with 22:29 to go. The Lopez-Eggers connection might just be enough to lift Davenport onto the second round of the GLIAC tournament. 22:29 to go. And it's the two local products yet again.
And obviously a look there at the highlights from this past Monday. You know, Berkeley taking down the defending state champion in Troy Athens, who won a year ago over Brighton in Grand Ledge. They won in overtime. So to beat the defending state champions, that's a statement win for this Berkeley Bears team. Again, a team that has over the years, the 15 years since Steve Olosik has been at the helm, has been very successful. They've been consistent in that league. And the one thing that they have struggled to do is make long playoff runs. They've found ways to win a district semifinal. They have won district titles, but they have not been able to go further on than a regional semifinal. Could this be their year? Anyone's guess.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And there are programs like that out there that we know them for how successful they are, but then they just get into postseason play and just for one reason or another, they just can't solve it at that level. And I think that's exactly what this team is. Again, a lot of top 5 finishes over the last 5 years, 3 of them as number 1 in the state going into the postseason. But there are a couple of takeaways that I had from watching those highlights again, and that was a great game against Athens, but it seems like they have the pieces now to maybe get them to that point. You know, you start off in goal with Badges. If he doesn't make a couple of those clutch saves, we're talking about a very, very different game towards the end. You know, despite Athens really maybe not having as much offensive firepower in that game as we've seen before, he came up clutch in a lot of big situations. And mind you, he's a senior, so he's been around for a few years, and he's been in net for a lot of those seasons that they've had a lot of success. So it's not just what they've done on the offensive side. I thought he was really clutch in that game as well, but they were able to get a lot of good set pieces, and that's the thing you and I were talking about in that game, JT. It probably should have been 2 or 3 goals for Berkeley. If they're able to capitalize on some of those other set pieces and opportunities that they get, I mean, that's a game that could have gotten really lopsided really quickly. So I think good goaltending and the defensive brand of game that they played yesterday, if they can replicate any of that again here today against Troy, that is a team that can go on to win a state title.
No question about that. When we come back here, we'll take a look at what Troy High did against Seaholm on Monday. So much more coming up here on the pregame show right here on MSN.